Hi, this is Dean Beck at the 2015 Pride Cup. Here in the Yarra Valley, we are at the Yarra Glen Recreational Reserve. It's had a $600,000 refurbish just for this day, and the netball club and the football club will be playing for the Pride Cup, a treasured trophy that celebrates inclusion and diversity in sport. We're joined now by Ellie McLean. She is not only a basketballer, but she's also Brock McLean's sister. Ellie, you're here as the netball ambassador for the Pride Cup 2015. How did the netballers go?
I don't know.
What sort of ambassador are you?
I actually got caught up talking to the president of Yarra Glen, so I do apologise, but...
Now, were you here last year?
No, I wasn't.
So what is it like for you to be here today?
I was blown away. Driving in down that driveway with the flag blowing in the wind, it was beautiful, seeing the 50-metre line painted and seeing the incredible support, and you can just tell how much effort everyone's gone into making today a successful day. So
now, I believe you had your own little attempt at a Pride Cup in basketball.
Yes.
Tell us about that experience.
Yes, when I played for Craigieburn last year, there was 5 of us on a committee last year who held a Pride round. It wasn't as successful as what today is, but I think it's still hats off to Craigieburn who really pushed the idea of having a Pride round to promote, the inclusive sport and things like that. So,
what is basketball like on the radar of the homophobia scale, if you like?
Well, to be honest, I haven't experienced any homophobia since I've been playing. I've been playing for many, many years. I think it tends to be a little bit more inclusive, but there still isn't a spectrum like there is with the AFL really pushing towards the anti-homophobia in sport.
You've got a lot of work to do, though.
Absolutely, yes, exactly.
Now, I'm told that you held back coming out to your brother because of his AFL career. Mm-hmm. You've clearly got over that,
yes.
But those sorts of third-party impacts that this sort of homophobia in the code perpetuates, it's tough for everybody. I mean, it had no direct effect on him, and yet you still held back.
Yeah, absolutely. I think when you are coming out, you're struggling with who you are, you're struggling with how your family's going to cope, and then when you've got a brother, or whether it be a mum or a dad or someone that is in the spotlight and held up as a role model, you do tend to worry how that's going to affect them as well. So I didn't want him to cop anything for something that was out of his control. So in hindsight, it was very ridiculous, but at the time it was a real struggle for me to deal with.
And a real issue.
Yeah, absolutely.
What was the experience like for you to talk to Jill Stark and go through that process, I guess, of not only going public about it, but putting it right out there and shining a light on the issue?
Yeah, I think people need to realise that this issue is a lot bigger than any individual. So I'm willing to put myself in that spotlight for the greater cause of everything, because I know that if I can help one other person that's struggling the same way that I was, then it's going to be a lot more beneficial. I was blown away by how supportive Brock was and how much of an impact still to this day that he is having on the LGBTI community in pushing for no homophobia in sport. So
it's been wonderful to have him as someone who, as an ally, can create the change, and he's doing tremendous work. I know your experience at high school was a very different one to mine.
Yep.
You sailed through as an elite athlete. I went into art classes and hid away from phys ed, mainly because I knew that I wasn't going to be welcome, and that I would cop it. We've got to stop that in our schools, don't you think?
Absolutely. It really does start from young kids. The generations that's coming through now really have a lot of potential to make the world a more inclusive place. So if we can reach out to the younger kids through role models such as Brock and through Jason Ball and Sean Towner, if we can start educating the younger kids, the younger generation, then in 10 years' time, no one's going to be worried about how they're going to be perceived in the locker room. So,
Ellie McLean, thanks for joining us here on Beck TV, and thanks for being a part of Pride Cup 2015.
Thank you for having me.
Pleasure. Not only is Brock McLean a great footy player, but he's also an athlete ally, and he is the great supporter of Pride Cup. He was here last year. He's here again this year for 2015. Brock, welcome.
Thanks, Dean. Good to see you again, mate.
Thank you very much. Your sister's pretty special.
Yeah, look, it was really great for Ali today to to be able to tell her story in her own words. Like I've been more than happy to tell her story on my behalf and, you know, from my point of view, but there's no one better to tell her story than Ellie herself. So for her to speak today, and she was a little bit nervous beforehand, but she handled herself really well and she spoke really well. So I was very proud of her and, you know, the whole family was as well.
Brock, we've come a long way since you decided to be the first player in the AFL to stand beside Jason Ball and make a stand against homophobia. The results that came out recently in the Out on the Field study indicate that we have so much more to do. And I've got to say I was a little bit thrown off centre from those results because they were so damning. They were so extensive.
I was disappointed in the results, but at the same time I wasn't that surprised, and sort of reasons for that is we still don't have a gay AFL footballer, and you know that just speaks volumes in itself that no one's comfortable enough in themselves to you know, to out themselves, like while they're playing football. And you know, people might say there might not be a gay AFL footballer. Well, statistics say, you know, 1 in 6 or 1 in 7. So it's 800 football players. You know, do the math. Like I was pretty good at math at school, and that says there are a few. So still got a long way to go, but you know, the more people that get involved, the more events like this that we have, the more the ball starts to get rolling and the more people get behind it, and then slowly but surely we start to change perception, when we start to see change in terms of the anti-homophobia message.
There are some people that would criticise something like today as being tokenistic. I'd suggest that it's certainly not, and that it's backed up with education and information to ensure that it gets cut through all the way throughout a club. What are your thoughts?
In my eyes, racism and homophobia are the same thing. The only difference is when someone racially vilifies someone, you can actually see the victim. Whereas someone uses a homophobic slur on the football field or in the crowd or something like that, because there isn't a gay player, there's actually no visible victim. But you know, there might be a 14, 15-year-old boy in the crowd who's hiding his sexuality, who may be thinking about coming out.
Or your teammate beside him.
Exactly. And he hears that and he says, you know what? I don't want to be vilified like that. You know what? I'm going to stay in the closet, and I'm going to put more mental strain on myself, and I'm going to hide who I really am, and which does nothing for that person's mental state or for their well-being. And
it does nothing for the game. Surely those people cannot perform at their best if they're living in that space.
And this is where Athlete Ally's message comes strolling into it, that we want people to be able to be themselves, and if they are able to be themselves, whether they're gay, straight, you know, whatever it is, they're going to perform at a higher level. And if they're able to perform at a higher level, the team performs at a higher level because they're able to perform at their best. So we want to create that safe environment where people feel safe enough to come out and be themselves, and in turn, the team benefits from it as well.
So what do you reckon the perceived wins are for people that are using homophobic language? What do you reckon they're getting out of this?
I think a lot of the time, people they're not aware of, you know, there might not be any malice behind it, they're just not aware of the impact it can have on people. We're taught at a very young age that 6 stones may break my bones, you know, that saying, but reality says that saying is totally wrong, it's totally off the ball, because there are people out there hiding their sexuality, and when they hear those comments, they think, well, they're saying that, you know, just out in the open, they don't even know I'm gay.
And it's the little niggles along the way too that just keep reinforcing that entrenched, internalised homophobia as well.
We've grown up in a culture where, you know, kids as young as 6 and 7, you know, that's gay when they talk about something that they don't really like or really respect, but they don't actually know what they're saying because they see it on social media, they hear it from older people, and they just grow up with that language in mind. And they might not have any malice intended, but in reality, it still has the same effect on people hiding their sexuality the same way.
It starts at homes, it starts in schools, it starts in clubs and on the field, and ultimately it'll change what happens in the stands.
Definitely, yeah. Education's the biggest key. Making people aware that little, you know, language like that, phrases like that can have a massive effect on people, and much to their detriment as well. So we can just try and eliminate that language from our vocabulary and educate people on why we need to eliminate that, then the world will be a much better place, and people who are hiding their sexuality and the LGBTI community will feel much safer, and they might feel comfortable enough to them to be able to come out to their family, their friends, and then in turn the general community.
Hey, mate, you're supposed to be on the field today. What's going on?
Yeah, old age, mate. I played a game yesterday, tweaked my ankle in the last quarter, so I thought about pulling the boots on, but I would have been more of a hindrance than a help today. So I'll cheer loudly from the sidelines and hope that Yarra Glen have a win.
Well, thank you for joining us today, and let's hope they win. But more importantly, continue the good work in this space. It's great.
Cheers, mate. Always a pleasure.